practice and what we preach and what we believe. Can you imagine to Isaac? He said he sowed in famine and he reaped 100-fold. And Isaac was a man that would dig another well. I mean, boy, if he dug a well and he had trouble, he'd just go somewhere else to make room. So, you know, you and I, we've got to dig another well. And that's why a lot of times I think little churches, they pop up here and there and yonder, they're just digging another well because God has called a lot of people to the ministry. And, you know, a lot of them are called, I guess, around here. Boy, we're called for Kiwi. We're called for Lily. But, you know, there's some that's called for Romania, some called for Russia, some called for Israel and different places. You know, Jonathan says, said an American can't win Africa, but said it takes an African to win Africa. And he said that he's in the business or going to be training a lot of African people to be mighty men and women for God. To Jacob, can you imagine to Jacob and the angels? Said he laid his head on a pillow and he said, surely the presence of the Lord's in this place. And I knew it not. And he called it House of God, Bethel, House of God. And another time it says he wrestles with God all night long. And folks, you know, to you and I, and how long has it been since you stayed up all night and prayed and sought the face of God? You know, to Miss Tina, probably, 12, 1 o'clock maybe, that's getting pretty late. And the other day said she woke up at 4 and God gave her a message to preach, for tent meeting. But can you imagine, just staying in the presence of God hour after hour after hour after hour, just staying in His presence, and I remember time just going into the living room, just sitting down and said, Lord, I'm not asking you for nothing. I just want to be in your presence. And folks, we know how to get things done. And we know how to touch heaven today. And we're used to getting our prayers answered. And folks, God is a mighty God. And He always says yes, no, maybe, and wait. So, God answers every prayer. It may not be the way that we want it to work out. But here Jacob is. He's a man that wouldn't give up. To have a strong will. I tell people to have a bulldog faith. Brother Gann talked about little bulldogs that go down through the neighborhood and this neighbor dogs would jump on it and he'd just tear them all to pieces and said he'd crawl back home. Say he went through the neighborhood again and said his dog jumped onto him. Say he tore them all to pieces. They tore him all to pieces. Said he went back home. Said the third time he come through the neighborhood, they just left him alone. So, if you and I have got a bulldog faith and we won't give up easily, folks, then God can do great things in your life. I think sometimes we wrestle and we wrestle and we wrestle. And we're trying to have faith, but really, when it don't happen, we say, well, I knew it wasn't anyway. But when we've got a faith in Almighty God and God has dropped faith into our heart, then we'll continue to work. And to Noah, for about 100 years or so, he worked on that ark, just kept a hammering and a building and working and putting in the slime. He had a preacher, it says a preacher of righteousness, and he's able to win his family. But folks, at least he won his family. There's times people, the great men and women of God they'll win hundreds and thousands all over the world, but they lose their family. Folks, it means something to win your family. It means something. And I know, Jonathan says that we got to win them first at home. But we want to win our family today. Can you imagine Joseph? Little thought of Joseph, and it said at 17 was studying, and 17-year-old, his dad, he's his favorite son, and I know we're not to have favorites. I was telling folks the other day, I said, Shane's my favorite son-in-law. So, we're not to have favorites, but can you imagine to Joseph, it says that God trains us in unusual ways. God trains us in an unusual way. So Joseph's just a young man, and his brothers got jealous. He already began having dreams. God was giving him dreams. But God knew the hard places that he would be in. To me, and I thought of how God would, when I was praying years back, probably 27, 28 years ago, 26, and the Lord showed me a lot of little churches, Lord, and probably 10 or 11 churches that I'd be preaching in. And I said, Miss Tate said, the Lord showed me a lot of little churches that I'd preach in. And I've preached in a lot of small churches and a few big churches. But God prepares us and He prepares a way. And we can't wait on having a dream to go and preach. God has commissioned us to go into all the world and preach the gospel. So you know there's some that's never had a dream or never had a vision, but they're so mighty for Jesus. They're so mighty for God. You know, to Billy Graham reading his book on angels and said he'd never seen one, but boy, he's sure writing about them. And he's talking about people in, I think it was Africa, and said they were praying, they were surrounded by the enemy, but said the little fella got saved that was going to come against them and said, I seen all them soldiers around your tent, around your hut. So God has mighty angels